Hey folks, it's Uzi and I here, and I'm Taco. Today on Taco Bonsai, I am going to repot my Schefflera. A lot of you may recognize this. This tree I did prune up and treat for pests, man, a couple weeks ago, maybe. It's been kind of overdue for a repot. I haven't repotted in a while. It needs some root work, and it has come back very nicely from defoliation and pruning. So lots of good growth means I'm pushing energy up from the roots, and it's time to address those. It does have mealy bugs on it. I don't know where they came from, but I've just got to continue to treat it. So I'm going to spray it down, repot it, and then spray it again. But my hope is that I no longer have any issues with these mealy bugs because they are the absolute worst. And I'm going to address the soil the same way. These trees have a lot of space to hide mealybugs, so that's kind of to be expected, I suppose. I'm not sure if I tied this one in, and I know I shouldn't be using these this way, but I am going to cut this wire, make sure if I did, tie it in, I can take it out. In the past, I would have, working is it? In the past, I would have just tried to untie it and untwist it. I was letting know that's a terrible idea because you can damage the tree. And I'm going to be putting it from a kind of rectangular bowl into a perfectly square bowl. This is the one that the Wiggly Boy ficus came into. It's a little bit narrower, maybe, but one drainage hole is better than none. And I'm just going to give it a shot, see what happens. So, here we go. Don't need this right this moment. I'm going to put it over here. And hopefully, don't need that or this right this moment. And I'm just going to try to get this thing out of the pot. So, on the bottom here, looks like I did tie it in. So I'm also going to cut those. Now this pot is kind of nice. It will rest on that side. I'll get some wire cutters. I think that's what these are. Yep. All right. So I can come in here now, cut this to make sure that I'm not pushing against myself. All right. So now that that's cut, I'm going to see if I can get this thing out. May not be easy. Bend the wire in a little bit to make sure it's not hitting that edge. All right. Oh. Let's see, huh? Not a whole lot of promise here as far as that. I'm kind of being as careful as I can be with it. Yeah. Let's see if I can get this out. Here's the one. Nice to have that one out. The other one, I'm not sure if I can pull it out, but if I can, that would be really nice. I'm kind of looped in a different way. There we go. Got that out. So that'll give me a lot more room to work while I'm pulling this thing out. Let's see if I can't rip one in. Give it a little tug. Definitely doesn't want to release. So we'll see if I can shut their drainage hole, and there we go. All right. So looking in this bowl, I do like this bowl, of course. Sorry, pot. I probably have some roots over here, but I think the majority of my roots are on the bottom there. Yeah, that's my roots. I'm also looking at this. This is, of course, on sifted soil, so that could be a big contributor as well. So let me unload the top of this so I can get rid of my soil I'm not going to be reusing just now. If I do reuse this, I'll be sifting it first. I'll put the pot over there as well. That way it's out of the way. And let's dive in. I think you guys can see just fine from there. So I do have some roots there on the sides here, but most of my roots are on the bottom. I'll start by combing away a little bit. Now, you may have noticed looking from the top that the less than square appearance of the pot is not mirrored by the plant in the same direction. Rather than trying to cope with that for this particular tree, this particular planting, I am going to plant it into the square pot so that I can use several fronts. Sorry, I'm off center with my hanger here. So not as many roots as I would like, considering this thing was in this pot for quite some time. And not great roots either. I think I did experience a little bit of root rot because of the way that I tied this up and the lack of general quality to the soil. Now, these are pretty sturdy plants, so I'm assuming it did well because it's such a sturdy plant and not because of any care of mine. Just sad. But again, as we learn, grow and adapt, we can make improvements. So I am learning, growing, adapting, and making improvements. All right. Pull. Did have a screen in there that I do not need. And really, it's not great, but it does have roots. So I'll take that. I'm gonna get myself sideways on this so I can see as well as you guys. All right. There it comes. Getting closer and closer. Again, just from the center, kind of combing out. Trying to get all this out. And I can see some issues already that I've got. My root base is not at one level. Got a whole mess of roots here. So I will likely take this to the sink to rinse it. I get as much of the soil out as I can first, but I think I'm going to have to rinse this in the sink. It is quite full of ambiguous spots that I'm not sure if I'm not able to get the soil out or if there's a root there or what's going on. So of course I'll continue this way to get out as much soil as I can, but I have to do some serious work in here. It is quite an easy tree to repot because of the way it has been growing. Plenty to hold on to without damaging foliage. But I just didn't repot this often enough, and you can see I've got roots growing every direction, which I've got to correct. This one in particular is quite ugly. This one can probably be straightened out. The one under here, you know, that it's all kind of just everywhere. And that's not what I want. I don't want roots everywhere. I want good roots in some places. All right. You guys can kind of see what I'm dealing with in here. A whole lot of my own mistakes have affected this tree in a way that's probably not positive. So I may not have to rinse this. Ooh, that needed to be out of there, certainly. That was a big chunk of something. That may have predated my time with the tree. I can't remember when I repotted this, I pulled all the old soil out, but I think at this point, it's time. All right. Get this off of my tray, and then we'll take a look at what's left behind. And again, I'm not going to reuse this soil just yet, but it's not all broken down. It's just quite fine. So I will probably sift it and reuse it in the future. All right, here we go. This is what we're working with. Is it beautiful? Not quite, but it exists. I can't recall if I'd said what I wanted to use as the front, but it's probably this, because I did like this root base. And this root base wasn't quite as impressive. And I could also turn it to the side and have it going front, back, and all that, but I think I'd like to use this as my root base. So, that being said, I'm going to start by getting rid of this really funky one right here. That one isn't doing any good stuff for us, and this one here also is just not going the right direction. I'll see if I can get it all the way out at the base. If I can, that gives me a lot better visibility on the whole root base here. Right below that one, there's another one doing the same thing, so I'll take that out. And all these are just going the wrong way for me. And that, there's one here that's going underneath this one right here. Take off that part of it, and that takes off a lot of those. These two here are kind of going straight down. Actually, all these are kind of going straight down, but I won't take them all the way off. I'll take them off to a reasonable point. Oof. This one here is crossing all the way under, I think from under here. It's hard to say just yet. Some shiny stuff in here. I think just old stuff. All right. Roots I can see here don't look too bad, but this one's got to go under here. All right. It's a little better. This one here is coming from underneath. I also want that one off. Let's see. Mostly anyways. All right, so getting closer to a reasonably shaped root base. Still lots and lots of issues to work out. Take off some of these real long ones so I get a little better visibility. It's this one here, crossing under. We'll get rid of that part. This one here is crossing under. So I'll get rid of that. This whole lump right here is an old root base, so cut that back. And then I'm thinking this root here is too high. I'd cut it off before because I didn't like it, but I think it's just too high. So I'm going to take that off altogether. On the back here, it also wraps around. I don't know if you can see there, it wraps all the way around. So I'll see how far I can actually get that off. That would be constricting. Ooh. Another root. All right. So I'm not sure I'll be able to get it all the way out because, as you can kind of tell, really jammed in here. Moving wise to not cut the end off at first, but you know, too late for that now. All right, now we're kind of getting it out of here. Slowly but surely. All right, I'm going to call it that because I think I'm just chasing ghosts now. All right, let's see if I can do a little more cleaning up here. All right, I'm going to point now. I've taken off not a whole lot of roots, but some roots. I think the base of this thing looks okay. I don't think it looks too bad, but I'm having trouble seeing what exactly I'm working with. So I'm going to grab a brush and just give this a little brush off. And I'll move back over to a little more visible of the position. That's giving me a little better visibility. And already I can see under here, it's a big old, let's see here, root stump that needs to come out. You need to see how much of that I can cut off because it does not need to be there. And even this here, it's coming down from the top, but it's going back under towards the center. It's a little better too. Sorry, I'm holding it quite high. All right. Getting somewhere again. A lot of these roots come off very, not vertical, but close to vertical. So I'm going to take them off, get it growing down in a little better. See how well it actually works, but I do have roots growing down in here. Then, ooh, roots are growing the wrong way. Now I've got appears to be quite a bit going on. All right, same thing here. These are really just going everywhere. Now I know those aren't really front roots. The front roots are over here, but they're really growing in a bad spot. So this is a little better, but not much. And of course, I can redirect this one to be a little more radial. I don't want it crisscrossing, applesauce, or none of that. Hi, Nina. Sorry, Nina just came back in. All right, I'm gonna take that one back a little bit too. This one's not great, but it's not the worst. That one, of course, just came off underneath because it's just a underneath root. Now I can kind of get these tucked under to help my general appearance here of the root base. I'm still seeing a lot of this underneath. It doesn't need to be here. So like that can come off. This needs to come off. Need to come off. I'm trying to make this quite flat. I'm not trying to kill the tree, so it's not that I'm trying to take off all the roots that are no good. So I'm trying to keep roots that aren't any good. And I've got roots like this one here, it's kind of going up and above, and then there's one underneath here that's actually going the right direction, but I'm not sure that I can address all these now. This is sort of the back of the tree, but I still don't want roots like this, so I'm going to take this one off the top of that. So it might be able to be unwound. Yep, that can be unwound. Stay with the brush again. I can get a little more stuff figured out in here. So I've got what looks like some sort of mica. It might be plastic in here. I'm not sure what exactly I'm looking at sometimes when I look at these trees. And I'm glad I kind of got it out because it's got a luster to it I don't feel comfortable with. Doesn't mean it's bad. Just not what I'm trying to use. All right. So we're getting better. I'm not, of course, concerned with this one ever sitting up straight, but I think I'm getting close to what I need. These back roots here aren't very good. I don't really love those. They're kind of sticking out straight, so I'm going to try to take those back as well. You see, it's sitting flat. Those just stick out into no man's land. It's off. So when we're seeing flat, they sit a little flatter. And I do want to kind of turn it up like this some, but it doesn't mean I'll be able to just because I want to. I'm going to cut this a little bit farther back. These two come from the back so they can grow down in versus up out of. It's a little better. See, this one's growing just in the wrong direction, so cut it off and let the branch that's underneath, sorry, roots that are underneath, grow. So see, this one underneath was better, and this can grow in front of that. That's okay. So this part I'm not upset with. I might need to terminate. Ooh, you know, these roots under here, I don't need to be there. I'm going to cut back this big root here. I don't hate it, but I don't love it. I think it was too tall. So in doing so, now I'm looking at more of the roots underneath, and I might be able to get rid of it and just keep the ones down below. So I'm going to find out about that right now. because this doesn't look like a bad root. All right, you know what? I'm going to say it. I didn't love that root. I think this is a better appearance. I'll have to brush a little bit, see if I can a little bit more, but I think that that is a resolution as opposed to a problem. Yeah, and it helped me to address this, which is just crossing over it all. So I'm going to cut that off, coming off the bottom of this root. And this one can kind of hang in the air, come back down. I don't mind it. It's kind of a weird knee there, but if it gets me some good taper, it'll look really good. So now I'm looking at a very different root base than what I had before. It needed to happen, certainly. I just had not done enough yet to get there. There. Take that off. It hasn't really been going back into place. Yeah. Certainly a bizarre root base from many perspectives. This root here is dead, so we'll take that out. And it's likely this one in the back here, this little air root, will die too. We'll see. I'll try to tuck it straight back. That's a better view. And I think that's all I can do. I don't think that I want to have this too far in the air, but I might be able to cant this a little bit to give myself a different sort of perspective. So I think without harming the tree an awful lot, this is about as far as I can get. And I might be able to give it a little tilt. So put that down for just a moment while I get myself a clean surface to work with. And I'm going to grab my soil. So I didn't pick this pot because I thought it was pretty or anything of that sort. No, I picked it because I thought it would function very well for what I need. Cut myself a little drainage screen. So I'm in a good spot there. So I think it'll do quite well. It's got plenty of room, of course. It's going to be more so a matter of getting it the right angle. I'm going to scoop some of this in. That is a larger container, certainly, which is good. It'll have more room to grow, and I'm hoping it'll grow more out and down because I've given it a better place. Ooh, awful lot more soil goes into this pot than that one had. There we go. All right. So now I'd like to get it sort of nestled on top here and tuck these roots in the back here, sort of to the back, a little more under it maybe, but let's see what we can do here, huh? All right, I'm gonna come around and look. It's quite difficult to see. Let's get you guys up a little bit, punch it down in there. So I do not mind that. I think it's quite nice. I don't know how you folks feel about it, but I think that's quite nice. So I'm going to fill in, give this thing its new lease on, well, a decent lease on life, I'm sure. It was growing quite strong despite being in such a peculiar soil and pot. So got my back almost filled in here. Just gonna do a little. Oh, got it filling over there too. All right, one more scoop. All right, and I can always take some out, but really my goal right now Let's get this filled in. Much better looking. I think this pot angle is much kinder to it. I did want to get this a little bit higher up. So I'm going to just tilt it just slightly, stick in some more soil around it. Now the last pot I repotted into this sifted soil, or sorry, last tree I repotted to this sifted soil did fantastic. It did not skip a beat. It is still doing fine. So I'm hopeful the same thing will be true with this. I just have more tendency to want to go that way. So see if I can get some more soil under here. I think that's quite a nice level. All right. So before I go too far, I am going to give it another spray with soap. I do not want any mealybugs or anything else. I've not rinsed this yet. Oof. Even after the first one. So now I'm going to go ahead and rinse it and just see how all this water's in that soil. All right, so far so good. Sorry, I'm just kind of poking away at things. I think you guys can hardly see what I'm doing, but I'm just kind of poking away at stuff. Make sure I try not to leave any soil on top of the trunk I've got started here. Make sure I've got this root straightened out. All right, and that's almost the whole thing of water. So just make sure it's draining quite freely, and I think it will be. Oh yeah, quite freely. So now as I look at it, I'm just going to give it a little brush, the last bits of soil off of the trunk itself here. There's nothing wrong with having a little bit of soil here and there on the trunk, but I do not want it at this time. And brushes are a really gentle way of making sure. All right, I'm liking this. I think it looks much better. Certainly looks healthier, I'll say that. And it is my hope that in this pot, it'll do quite fine. So now I think that's got it. I'll give you guys a quick once around on it, if that's all right. Just do a straighten up here. So, and my front I'd picked, I think, to be in this range. Now I've got to fill in a lot of roots here, but the roots look really nice there. And, you know, my leader being right here, coming back towards, this will be an interesting tree to